So, hey guys, it's Mark. Uh, going live for you here real quick. And I'm sorry I didn't give you a heads up because honestly, I never know when I'm going to have time to do this. And so when I have 20 minutes or so, I just jump on here and do it as I can. So, going to entertain a few questions that I've from members of my channel. One question was why my ASD partner always has to make me wrong whenever we talk about problems. Okay. Well, if I have this disorder called ASD level 1 or high functioning autism, this is a developmental disorder. They call it developmental for a reason. That means my social emotional brain is underdeveloped. So in other words, if I have ASD level 1, my social intelligence and my emotional intelligence is low. In fact, you could think of ASD level 1 as a disorder of social skills. So as a result of having a low functioning social emotional brain, I have this thing called mind blindness and emotions blindness. So in other words, I have a hard time predicting what might be in the mind of, in this case, my NT wife and what she might be thinking and or feeling. So if I have ASD level 1, I truly have no clue what she might be thinking or feeling. Therefore, when she has a perspective or opinion that's different from mine, I can't wrap my brain around her perspective. In fact, her viewpoint may seem very nonsensical to me. So since I am blind to her perspective, I will tend to view her differing opinion as she's disagreeing with me. And then I might have a thinking error based on assuming that she's disagreeing with me. I may have a thinking error that goes along the lines of, because she's disagreeing with me, therefore she's against me. And then that might launch me into another thinking error that because she's against me, I must defend myself and prove that she's wrong and illogical. So if I don't make her wrong, that means I'm wrong. Because in the ASD mind, only one person can be right. And that must be me, since my perspective is the only perception that I can see. Emphasis on the term see. So in other words, since I can't comprehend her thoughts or feelings, her thoughts and feelings are not valid. So long way around the bush to get to the point, which is mind blindness and emotions blindness makes him unable to see your perspective and your feelings, but he sees his logic. And since his logic is the only thing that he can see in the cognitive sense, therefore he thinks that, and since only one person can be right, then he thinks I'm right. Obviously, you are wrong. Let's see. What else did we have here? Give me just a second, please. I had another one. This one was with respect to, this is from an autistic husband, and he's wanting to know how to be more emotionally reciprocal. Oh, great. That's cool. So I think a good place to start with emotional reciprocity would be reflective listening. Because a lot of the NTYs say he doesn't listen. He's not present when I'm talking. So reflective listening is kind of a special type of listening that involves paying respectful attention to the content and the feeling expressed, in this case, your NT wife. Reflective listening is hearing and understanding, and then letting her know that she's being heard and understood. So if you wanted to practice reflective listening, I would say, in concert with your NT wife, set aside 10 minutes every day to practice this business of reflective listening, and even have a talk about feelings, even though if you have ASD level 1, you're going to be alexithymic and have difficulty talking about feelings. But here would be the exercise. You're going to spend 10 minutes practicing this reflective listening and talking about feelings, okay? I know that might be out of your comfort zone. You're going to reflect her content and feelings. In other words, you're going to listen, paraphrase back what you heard. Don't parrot back. Paraphrase back what you heard using your words to check for understanding. Don't offer advice. Don't offer your opinion on the matter. Don't offer your opinion about her opinion. Don't defend your point of view. She wants you to hear what she's said through your filter. So there it is. Active listening or reflective listening. You're going to stop what you're doing, look in her direction and nod. You're going to paraphrase back what you think she said. If she goes, no, that's not what I said, that's not what I mean, ask her to repeat using slightly different words. And then you try your paraphrase it back again. And you say, okay, well, if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is da 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 da. So, yes, that's what I mean. Okay, that proves understanding. The next thing is the validation piece, which is, okay, I hear you, which was step one. I understand you, which is step two, because you said I paraphrased correctly. Third step would be validation. Okay, I hear you, I understand you, and I respect the fact that that's your truth. I'm here to listen, to understand, not to mount a defense. So again, don't offer advice. Don't offer your opinion on the matter. Don't offer your opinion about her opinion. Don't defend your point of view. Don't parrot back. Recognize that validating her emotional experience does not necessarily convey agreement, though. Okay? This whole business of reflective listening does not have to include, okay, I hear you, I understand you, and I validate that that's your truth and also agree with you. No, if you don't agree with her, that's fine. So reflective listening has the benefits of it's going to let your NT wife, you're the ASD husband asking the question, so it's going to let your NT wife know that she's being heard and understood. It gives her feedback on what she said and how it came across. It allows you to check your own accuracy in hearing what she said. And by the paraphrase piece, it avoids the illusion of understanding. A lot of times you thought you understood when you really did not. So that's the reflective listening piece. I hope that helps. And so we had another one here. This is from the NT spouse. We have a hard time solving problems when we want to do a project or anything along the lines of a vacation or house repairs and so on. So, okay. So it might be best to come up with a formalized problem-solving process. And I would put this on paper because the ASD spouse, people with ASD prefer structure. They like to have things very concrete. So I would do this. We'll come up with some steps to do a problem-solving process, but I would write this down because your ASD spouse is a visual learner in the verbal world, and he's going to want to see what you're talking about. So I would get a big piece of paper, bigger than this one, and write this down. And so here would be some steps. First of all, you want to identify what the problem is, because a lot of times the NT spouse goes, well, the problem is this. And the ASD spouse goes, no, the problem is that. So the very first thing you have to do is agree on what the problem is. That's step number one. Step number two might be to understand the interest in both parties. Okay, let's say for sake of discussion, you've identified the problem. The NT spouse is going to have a certain set of interests to resolve it, but his interests may be slightly elsewhere. So understand the interests in both parties. Then I would list some possible solutions. Put as many on paper as you can. Don't reject anything up front. These are just possible solutions. Some are going to be poor. Some are going to be okay. Some are going to be good. Some are going to be better. Some are going to be best, which would be step 4. So once you list the possible solutions, I want you to go back and rate those solutions in order of, where you go, poor. It's not necessarily a good option, but it's certainly worthy of being put on the list. Then maybe there's a good one, and a better one and a best one. And this will just be your best guess for now because you're not sure. You have to actually do a trial. In other words, execute the method, whatever method you're going to have in trying to come up with a solution before you're actually going to know for sure whether it's good, better, best, or poor. So rate the solutions in order of poor, good, better, best. And then I would also rate these options with respect to which should be executed immediately, which should be executed sometime soon, and which ones can wait. Okay, so you're going to rate your possible solutions both with likelihood of a good outcome and also time. You're going to put a timeline to it. The sixth step might be to document the process. What worked, how did it turn out, what didn't work. So this document that you're going to put on a piece of paper with this problem-solving process is going to be a work in progress. It's going to need revisions because you're going to have more information perhaps next week than you have today. So you'll have to go back and revise. So here it is again. The two of you are undecided on something, and therefore nothing's getting done. First, be sure that both of you agree on what the problem is. Understand the interest in both parties. List as many possible solutions as possible. Rate those solutions in order of poor, good, better, best. Also, which ones need to be implemented can wait, which ones do we need to do soon, and which of these options need to be implemented immediately. And you want to document this process as it is going to be an ongoing process. What worked, what didn't, how did it turn out, why didn't it work, this did work, why do we think that worked? So long way around the bush, you're going to want to formalize this process. It can't be just a conversation. It needs to be a formal process on paper. And I think I have time for one more here. Let's see, what was this one? Oh, can never talk about anything without it turning into an argument. Okay. Then I would suggest doing a little bit of an analysis on, this is going to be another formalized process like we just talked about with the problem solving. I would do a formal process of investigating the argument in retrospect. In other words, after the argument has already happened and both parties are calm, the two of you can do a little conflict debriefing. You can do it together, or the NT wife can do her version, the ASD spouse can do his version. But let's do a little bit of investigation into the argument. And this is going to have to be after the fact. Describe the argument in question. In other words, what was said or done. Could you tell the conversation was escalating into an argument? If so, how? How intense was the argument? Let's come up with a scale of 1 to 5. 1 was there was some tension. 5 was it turned into a yelling match or somebody melted down or shut down. How long did the argument last? What was the likely function or intent of the argument? In other words, the argument serves some purpose. Either somebody's getting something out of the argument or they're trying to avoid something due to the argument. So what was the function or what were you either getting out of the argument or avoiding by having the argument? And what happened before the argument? In other words, what was the antecedent? What happened during the argument? And what happened after the argument? And again, I would write all of this down. And the reason that you want to formalize this process and write it down is because you're trying to look for patterns and themes in the way that the two of you argue so that you can prevent arguments in the future. Intervening in the middle of an argument? No, doesn't work. You want to prevent the damn thing from happening in the first place. And the only way you're going to prevent is find patterns and themes. You're only going to find patterns and themes if you do this formalized process that I'm discussing. So you're looking for patterns. In other words, When is this argument likely to occur? When is this argument least likely to occur? Where is this argument most likely to occur? Where is this argument least likely to occur? How often does this argument on this particular topic occur? Because not all arguments are the same. There's going to be a particular area that the two of you will consistently argue more about than another one. So how often does the argument about problem one occur? And what conditions are most likely to precipitate or set off that argument? What other information can contribute to creating an effective argument prevention plan? In other words, under what conditions does the argument not occur? And what can be done to minimize the conflict the next time the argument occurs? That's called prevention. And with this, you're simply shooting for more wins than losses. You're never going to just never ever argue again unless you just never ever talk about anything. This assumes that you are going to discuss some things that might be risky for, ending badly. But so if you're able to have 51% of conversations without a huge argument, but the other 49%, it ended in an argument, that's a win. You're shooting for just simply more wins than losses. And so there you go. That would be a formalized process. And if you're dealing with an ASD spouse, you're going to have to formalize and you're going to have to document, and you need to be writing this stuff down so it's visible on paper. So we'll just call that investigating the argument in retrospect, so that you can look for patterns and themes, so that you can avoid those patterns in the future. So I hope that answered that question. That's all I have time for now. Sorry about that. So feel free to find me on ASDRelationshipSolutions.com for more information that can help ASD relationship solutions. That's a mouthful. ASDRelationshipSolutions.com. And you'll find me over there. Also, there should be, once I end this live stream, there should be a little join button underneath the video. And you can join there, and you'll get access to members only videos. And then you'll also be able to ask me questions whenever I do these live streams. Okay. So thank you. And there you go. All right, guys.